Good. Yourself?
All right, thanks.
Good. Okay. Let me just pull up the Dropbox and then we can get started.
We're live.
Great. Okay, well, let's, while I'm doing that, let's call to order the October 19th, 2021 Conservation Board meeting to order. On the docket tonight, looks like we have two items. We have Southgate Hills Phase 2, and we have Pet Pride, and then approval of meeting minutes from September 21st. We did not have a meeting earlier this month. So I guess let's get started with the first item, Southgate Hills Phase 2. This is 06 BS-2021. And so this project's before the planning board, 15 lot residential development on 58.3 acres and includes 4 separate parcels with approximately 2,000 feet of frontage on East Victor Road and 2,700 feet of frontage along the north side of Boughton Hill Road. So who do we have on the phone tonight or on the meeting tonight for Southgate?
That's me, James Kritikos. I'm with BME, and I'm here on behalf of Reedman Acquisitions, who is the applicant.
Okay. Hey, Jim. Well, I think you're pretty familiar with, with our format and our meetings, and I don't think you need much background on us. But why don't you give us a quick overview of the project? I think there was a site walk. I did not make it. I think, Matt, I think you were on it. I don't know, Tim, if you made it to that.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'm happy to give you guys. Oops, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say I don't know that I was on this portion of it, so I'm anxious to see what you got for us.
Perfect.
All right, you're on, Jim.
So just to guys give you a little frame of reference, as Andrew was mentioning, this is a 15 lot subdivision. We're only looking at about 10.14 acres of the applicant's total holdings. We did go through a rezoning of the overlay district for the overall 58 acre parcel you mentioned. And what we're doing is we're transferring some development rights from the larger properties along Boughton Hill over here where we have access to public sewer and water. That's why we're doing the cluster subdivision. So really the only portion that we're submitting and reviewing is what you have on the screen right here, which is this little 10 acre parcel, give or take. So what it is, it's basically a simple subdivision, about 500 or so linear feet of road with a cul-de-sac that connects onto East Victor Road. This is going to be a major subdivision application. So with that, we're providing 50% in open space in some conservation easements. Of that, about 5 acre requirement because of our 10 acre lot, we're doing about 4 acres on site here, as well as another 1 acre off site of the applicant's holding. For your reference on this page, it's pretty much the entire wooded area that we're protecting in conservation easement. So this includes 100% of the stream buffer of Fish Creek, which is located off site to our west, as well as protects all the steep slope areas. There's some pretty good ridges behind lot 8 down there toward the end of the cul-de-sac, where if you do a site walk, it does drop off pretty quick. So we're going to protect all the steep slopes, everything. I think the idea was to do a majority of these conservation easements as the more restrictive one to make sure everything stays in place. And then we're going to provide some more conservation easement along the northern limits of all the lots. That'll encompass the stormwater facilities and things. That way the town can get in there and maintain it, but it's still protected from, the future homeowners. With this right now, our site is mainly the wooded areas as well as agricultural fields. So to kind of enable that, we're going to clear or remove some of the active ag fields. It's about 3.2 acres or so. And we're removing about 4 acres of wooded area. There's just shy of 3 acres that'll remain. That'll all be within those conservation easements. As I mentioned, Fish Creek is located to the west. It doesn't come onto our site at all, but all of our runoff under both existing and proposed conditions does make its way into Fish Creek. Runoff for the site under existing generally flows from south to the northwest corner. There's a pretty wide, flat drainage swale that runs through our site. There's about 30 acres of offsite drainage to the south. Some of the properties there, as well as some other water that's conveyed below Boughton Hill, all makes its way up toward us. And that all kind of meanders, like as I mentioned, north and then a little bit to the west. And then right kind of north of where our stormwater facility is, right along the property line, the swale gets really well defined. It's heavily rocked in just from where the drainage has been going forever. So we would consider that very well defined, very stabilized. So with proposed drainage on this project, what we propose to do is to basically bypass all of the offsite drainage. So we've got a larger culvert system that's going to sit behind lots 3 and 5, and then basically convey water between them, past all our stormwater controls and directly into that well-established swale. The reason for that is we don't want to manage, 30 acres of offsite drainage. It just makes the pond and everything get pretty absorbent, as well as just trying to tie everything in with the correct elevations becomes a challenge. So we're going to bypass all the offsite drainage. And then we're going to be collecting, all the roads, the fronts of houses and rears where we can, collect that all in the storm sewer system along the road. We're going to convey that into a bioretention area, which then will discharge into a pocket pond. It works out pretty much perfectly for what the DEC recommends sizing. It's just about 5 acres, which is what we're going to take essentially to that pocket pond. And then the outlet for that is going to do a similar thing. It's just going to discharge directly into or down the slope, and then allow it to kind of sheet flow itself back into Fish Creek. So everything ends up in the same spot. There are some wooded areas along the west side, so they're just going to continue to kind of sheet flow directly toward Fish Creek as it does under existing conditions. We're pretty much at a balance for select earthwork on the site right now. We have a little bit of topsoil excess, but with all the other applicants' holdings, we don't really anticipate it going. If it goes off site, we can certainly find some fill areas nearby for it. We also may look at doing some adjustments to some of the lawn areas to see if we can just keep the balance of that topsoil on site. We do have site-specific erosion and sediment control plans prepared that were included in the application. Again, it's a pretty straightforward site. We're going to be putting up perimeter erosion control, doing a little bit of diversion swales. We'll use the pond as a sediment basin, which will collect pretty much all of the disturbed runoff, allow it to settle out before we discharge it, and then we'll do the typical install the bioretention media at the end of the project, as well as restore the pond from any silt and sediment accumulation. That's pretty much the project in a nutshell. Again, I kind of want to just point out we're really looking at just this parcel. Other applications for the other applicants' holdings, we'll look at when we do those applications. We just don't have the final design or configuration for what those are going to be. So once they get subdivided off, we will ultimately end up with half of our total 58 acres in conservation easements, as part of the major subdivision requirements. And then we'll end up with a total of 29 total lots between the 58 acres, which is consistent with, the current zoning for the residential B. So we're really going to do a lot of protection of, the existing wooded areas on all these properties, and especially around, anything going toward Fish Creek from properties along Boughton Hill. And there also are some other planned amenities with the future development on the east side of East Victor Road in terms of like trail connections and other things there. But this parcel we're working on now really doesn't have proximity or direct connection to any of that. So we're really just looking to do, these 15 lots as a small cluster subdivision. So I'm happy to answer any questions on any part of this you guys may have.
Do you have any maps that have the conservation easements, I guess, sketched out?
So if you look at, if you have the site drawings themselves, probably the best review of them is either just the site plan where you can see them all mapped. We also included kind of an overall development plan, which was the last sheet of the packet. It's drawing 12. I don't know if you have, I can share my screen if you guys want to give me the power, but I'll leave that up to you.
I think I have it.
Yeah, it's page 2 of the
Yep.
site plan. Yeah.
Okay.
You should be able to share if you'd like to.
Sure. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
So here's our subdivision plot. So right now we are basically the conservation easements. We're going to have the one conservation easements goes in the rear of the lots like so. And that will be the stormwater facility easement. That'll include the pond, the bioretention area, and keep that protected. And then the rest of the balance of the site, which will include all this perimeter wooded area here. So that lower area makes up the 4 acres that we're proposing to put in a conservation easement on site, as well as we have another about 1 acre parcel right here, which again is right within the buffer to Fish Creek. So we're immediately protecting, that stream using some of our other holdings. So that's what we're looking at to do here. It's also shown kind of, more on our overall development plan. So basically kind of this darker hatched area. These are what we're proposing to do at this time.
So that proposed the conservation easement there at the top on your screen. Where the access road is and the stormwater management and bioretention. Is that going to be site specific, or what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it'll be site specific. We wanted it to probably be like one of the lower tier of the conservation easements. We do want to give the homeowners the ability to mow or maintain in there, or same with the town if they want to come in and do whatever they need to do for the stormwater facility, bioretention area. But in general, we don't want any structures in there. We don't want any other permanent things, sheds or anything placed there. So we would look to probably do, signage markers at all the corners of the easement, or maybe look at doing like permanent pins there to really just help define those limits. And then same thing with the other areas on the other conservation easements, although those are going to be a little bit more identifiable because they'll follow the tree line once we're done with construction.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to write in that access road and the management area and the bioretention area as specific to that conservation easement. Just because that's typically not, or it's a if you were to look at our typical easements, it's not written in there.
Okay.
So I think that'd be one of my notes or comments I have. What from the access road, would that just be a gravel driveway?
Yeah, we were going to do basically like a subsurface access road. So I think it would be like a gravel underlay with, a little bit of topsoil and grass growing on it. So it doesn't look like an actual access drive down the back of these roads, but it can be used as such.
Okay. All right.
A little bit better.
Oh, you have a plan there. Okay.
Yeah, so here's like the grading essentially. We got basically all these houses are walkouts. Then they all have pretty reasonable backyards prior to it. So here's where the storm sewer collects all the road to a low point in here, discharges out, comes into our pre-treatment for our bio, then fills into it, and then eventually into the pond, and then out toward Fish Creek. And then this is kind of where the defined swale is off-site. And then we're basically just north of our access drive. We're just going to cut in basically another diversion swale on our site because this farm field does drain right at this property.
Okay.
I was going to ask.
Questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, right now, I believe much of this is already just sort of a longer grass field, right? At this point, I don't think there's any real trees in the center of this, right? Maybe up to the north and on the south as well.
Correct. Yeah, the majority was ag field, which I don't believe it was used this year because I know they're in the process of installing that sewer along East Victor Road, so the access was a little bit limited. I don't know the last time that it was actively farmed. I'm assuming it was last season. But yes, really, there's just perimeter trees. You can kind of see here on our grading plan. This is about the area of trees that is going to get cleared from the site right now. So that's what we're looking to clear from existing wooded. The rest of this area up here and above that is all ag fields.
And what do the woods consist of right now?
It's pretty mixed out there depending on where you are on site. The areas along Fish Creek are pretty wide open once you get past the initial brush line of the tree. If you guys want any golf balls while you're doing your site walk, there's a 1,000 trillion there. Probably several of them complimented me. But the rest of the wooded kind of toward the south area is a little more overgrown. There's a little bit more ground cover there. But they're all very mature, full grown trees. So we really want to protect, especially everything to the west along the stream buffer corridor. And then the stuff to the south provides a great buffer between that and the adjacent properties. So we're excited we're able to kind of fit everything in here while still maintaining a lot of that, existing natural vegetation too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What's your plan for, so I want to circle back to the grading and because this there is some slopes here, right? That we have to.
Yeah, so basically, if you're out on the site right now, and you're walking it, the existing swale kind of comes through as such that I was talking about for drainage. So the low point is basically being maintained with the road. And then we basically based our entire grading for this development off where the sanitary sewer we're able to connect where they just brought it in. So this invert here controls basically this road elevation. So we ran it at a minimum slope. We're gonna end up with like 5 or 6 feet of fill here at the low point. And then we end up cutting into the top of this hill a little bit, but then we're able to kind of walk it out. So everything ties back in nicely. And like I said, we do get to a select material balance, which is nice. So trucking will really be minimized to just topsoil stuff, which, like I said, we will probably look for opportunities to keep on site, whether that's, converting a walkout or two into not a walkout, for instance.
Okay.
Tim or Keith, you have any comments or questions?
I guess so. I'm just trying to figure out the sequence or the order of things. So, this is maybe part A of phase 2 or whatever language you want to put to it. So are ultimately we looking to approve and proceed with this, and then a year down the road, phase B and so forth? Or is this sort of hey, we're pretty close on this, so we wanted to run it by you, but ultimately when more is ready, then that's when it will be formally brought forth and approved?
Yeah, so when we do future things, we will have another full application with design plans and everything submitted. The overall plan we had shows our intent with what we're doing, which is, develop this 10 acres now, create 4 basically larger lots that'll all be on septic systems along Fountain Hill Road, and then do another subdivision up in here with the remaining balance of those lots. Now, we don't have any sort of final design for this area done yet, or the client isn't pursuing that at this time, which is why we're just focusing on this smaller area. But any further applications or subdivisions, we will be going back to the planning board, going through the process. So you will see anything else we do at a future meeting.
Okay, so I guess sort of where I was going with that is, that there's an acre to fulfill the 5-acre requirement. There's, that sort of leg here that's shown. And, the real estate market changes and none of those things occur. This development itself would be short of that 50% threshold. Correct.
Which is, why we're looking to provide that extra offsite acre. And that'll be filed, as part of this application. The applicant controls all these properties, so it's very easy for him to, give this up. I mean, if you look at the shaded areas, this is kind of what we were citing to do for conservation easements throughout the whole area. So you can really see we're really going to be providing a ton, and this is almost all wooded area along Fountain Hill Road that we'd be looking to save.
Okay. All right. And I guess just the other comment in this, we typically give to folks before us is just, in terms of that conservation easement and the marking of it, certainly that's important for the homeowners to recognize. I mean, that it's somewhat advantageous that there's a tree line that will be formed that would essentially be that easement. But just be mindful of, the zigs and zags in your in the easement do need to be marked. And, that lot 9, I think it is, it's just a little worrisome just because there's not a ton of available land for that eventual.
Yeah, that's actually, it's funny you mentioned that. We are going to, when we come back for our final, this is our preliminary submission, we are actually going to kind of rebalance these lot lines a little bit, just to kind of give a little bit more room here for lot 9, just because they are kind of tight with their backyard space. So we're going to kind of shift up, 7 and 8 down a little bit and give them just a little bit more room, whether it's on, the sides of their house, or if we can even shift the whole house a little bit south and kind of increase that. But yeah, Tim, we definitely understand the marking requirements, whether it's, signs on the 4x4 posts, permanent markers on, a natural feature, whether it's a boulder, a tree line, tree we can mount it to, or even just, placing an actual survey pin, in the ground itself, if that's what we need to get to. But we will definitely make sure that it's marked and, that the planning board is acceptable to whatever we end up agreeing upon.
Okay.
Well, and just to piggyback on that, so the markings, what we've come to learn is the markings are definitely important, and that's part 1. And part 2 is just the education for your future homeowners. Please make sure they understand the markers, what they are, where they are, especially as after you've cleared everything and then you put a marker in some cases in the middle of their yard, and we just want to be sure they understand what that means and what they can and can't do beyond that.
Right.
So education is a big piece of it.
100%. And I think
Thanks.
I know our client's been working here a little bit and is familiar with the different
Yep.
easements and victors. So I know they have some mechanisms to relay that as they're selling the lots off.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll echo that. You know, the education part of it's important. We've I think you've seen it in some of the previous meetings, but you know, that's we're finding that's very critical with especially these new developments. Just learning from some of the previous lessons that we've had in the past. So yeah, I'll just add that, reiterate that that's incredibly, you know, important to us. All right, Keith, anything? Any questions, comments?
None really. Unfortunately, I would just want to echo again on the whole marker exercise, and that is, you mentioned a couple options that you use to establish the markers. One of the things we like to see is that they're actually permanent and they should not be easily moved. And part of the education is that the new homeowners should not try to move them because they are there for a reason. So that's the only thing I want to add to that, just so this all clear to everybody.
Perfect.
Okay.
Happy to coordinate all that.
All right. So it sounds like there's a few comments. I'll note here. First is making sure in that conservation easement area that, you know, in the northern area where the road, the bioretention area and the stormwater management pond are, just make sure you're probably gonna have to go with a site specific easement, just and wording those features in appropriately. So just I think that's our first comment. And then the second one, you know, with the markers, just ensuring that we that you follow the, I guess, the proposed guidelines, you know, set forth by you know, our building code and in the planning board. And I think the third is to consider a you know, some sort of awareness plan for future owners, education plan, however you want to term it, just to make sure that folks know exactly what is a conservation easement, what they can't do, and you know, and where those areas are.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are our three comments that we'd put forth.
Perfect. Yeah, those all sound typical and kind of what we expected. So we're happy to do all those.
All right. Well, any other final questions or comments from the board or from Jim, from yourself?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time. Appreciate it. And best of luck. You said this is preliminary, right? You'll be
Yeah,
back
we're on planning board next week. I expect we'll be that meeting and another one, and then we have to submit final, which is, this is final level design. We're not going to be changing anything unless we get comments, you know, to influence that. But appreciate you guys' time. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out or, you know, shoot an email to Lisa or Tim at the town and they can forward it along to me.
Likewise. Good luck and
Thank you.
have a good night. Thanks.
You too. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. All right. Okay, I'm gonna pull up my agenda. All right, Pet Pride, project number 38-SP-2021 and 09-SU-2021. All right, so the applicant is requesting approval to construct a 3,100 square foot addition to the existing facility, and proposed work will include the construction of additional parking and emergency vehicle turnaround. So who do we have on tonight for Pet Pride?
Hi, I'm Jeff Ashline with Mosine Architects and here with our client Marlise Sullivan from Pet Pride. How's everybody tonight?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for joining.
Welcome.
So, just a little background. I'm not sure if how many projects you've had with us here in Victor, but we're a conservation board, we're an advisory board to the planning board. Obviously focused on conservation areas or conservation topics. And I think you just saw with the last meeting, we look at a number of different projects, anywhere from these new developments that come in, like on East Victor Road, anywhere, and to as small as, putting in pools or sheds, which we've seen quite a bit of with the most recent COVID, with the pandemic. We take a look at, things like steep slopes, water control, conservation easements. As you saw, that's a very hot topic for us. And try to provide as much input to the developer or landowner, and try to really help the folks along as best possible, make it as streamlined as possible, so that folks aren't volleying back and forth with their projects. So I guess to that end, if you could maybe between the two of you give us a little background on the project, and then what we'll do is we'll go in and start making some comments and recommendations and questions.
Marlise, would you like to explain about the company and I'll get into the addition that we're going to propose?
So Pet Pride has been in existence for, I think, almost 40 years. We've been at our Victor location, I believe, since 2000. We are a sanctuary and adoption center for cats, as well as also help out with the feral communities in Victor. We adopt out on average about 400 to 500 cats a year. And mostly what we take in are stray cats from people. Sometimes we take in cats from people who can no longer care for them, or, they have life-changing issues that require them to have to rehome their cat. But we do good work. So.
Great.
Yeah, and to that point, because it's such a popular organization, they're just running out of room, and we need to expand the facility. The existing structure, approximately 1,300 to 1,400 square feet, is just kind of outgrown where it needs to be right now, where they need to be. So we decided to take the opportunity on the south side of the site to propose a approximate 3,100 square foot addition. It's about 81 feet long by 37 wide. And I think you guys have a site plan. You may have seen a site plan from McMahon LaRue. And then there's our drawing, as you see here. Again, on the south, starts at the southwest corner in the upper left, moving to the southeast and the bottom right. We're quite a ways back off the main road, Victor Menden Road. You can see a little bit of the existing facility while you're there. And because we tucked the new building kind of behind the existing for the majority of it, there's not much you're really going to see. So we go before the planning board on November 9th. Part of the discussion we're going to have, but obviously would love your feedback. One of the things that Mr. Phillips mentioned was like a conservation easement. We received some comments yesterday from Rick McGrain at the town. A few comments. One of them was regarding a conservation easement that was done probably about, I guess, 1998, 2000, I think. That there was a conservation easement located 785 feet from the south property line. Now this property is approximately 15 acres. So that 785 comes well short of even where we're proposing to cut in a little bit into the tree line on the south side of the building. And we kind of found that out yesterday. there was a language in the zoning board comments from that time that talked about 1,000-foot forever wild buffer. We are encroaching slightly into that, not for the building itself, but just for the contractor to be able to do the work. We need to prune some trees back because we don't want the existing trees overhanging the roof of our new building. That's a maintenance issue that they've had to deal with over time on the existing facility. But again, the encroachment, however so slight, that 30 feet into the 1,000 doesn't encroach into the conservation easement. And again, it's just for the contractor to be able to have a little bit of maneuvering room to do some work. The site plan that McMahon LaRue provided shows some melding of the existing grades, moving from south to north, kind of towards the new structure, and then back from the building, pitching water away from the new addition, kind of to the south. We're proposing dry stone beds at the base of the gutters and downspouts. Right now, there's no storm tie-in on the existing facility. Everything goes to grade, but we'd like to improve on what's there for the new facility and addition, and provide, again, stone gravel beds at each of the downspout locations, kind of disperse that water slowly as opposed to, full-blown runoff. We'll have silt fencing up during the construction process, which we're hoping to start, the day after the planning board gets this approval, we hope, but we'll see. So that's a little bit about the project, and that's kind of where we're at this point.
So, yeah, I guess I'm looking at the site plan here. And I think I see where you're talking about the Forever Wild. So the actual new addition there is, the corner is 1,005 feet to the property line, correct?
That is correct. And the language, and it's interesting, the language is a little loose from the 2000 document, and that it says approximate 1,000 foot forever wild. Now, again, we've been talking to Alan at the town, we talked to Rick, and didn't see that as a big issue. But then when Rick responded yesterday with the 735 foot easement, he said, you're not even close to that, so should not be an issue. But regardless, we understand that this is a residential zone. We're a commercial entity with neighboring residential properties. The Pet Pride has a great rapport with all their neighbors. I don't even know who's to the south, it's so far away, but to the east and the west, they have good relationships.
I actually have
we
two
want
letters. I picked up 2 letters today from 2 of the neighbors endorsing the project. So
great. But we're sympathetic to their privacy and our privacy, and the fact that if you are looking at the site plan to the west, very little disturbance because what's already there is cleared in that corner, at the southwest corner. As we move east, southeast, where we need to clear again, just to be able to work, because the contractor needs a little bit of room to bring some equipment in. But again, we're sympathetic to the grading. We're not going to, first of all, we don't want to provide runoff to neighboring properties, and we also don't want it to be a detriment to our building as well. So, appropriate swales, gravel beds where we can. Again, it's a residential type structure, single story, gutters, downspouts, pitched roof.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Very, very similar to what's there. And if you saw when you had the elevations up earlier, if somebody comes in and says, "Wow, it looks like the building that was already there," that's our goal.
So a couple points I have. I guess I would like to just make sure. So it sounds like you want to trim some trees back within that Forever Wild, right? Or remove them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So I think we just need to make sure whatever's worded or however that's worded, that we need to make make sure that that's okay with how it's worded currently. the second item is I would recommend on your site plan here to overlay some wherever those conservation easement lines are. I'm not going to say go mark them. I don't think that's necessary, but at least on the site plan, just so everyone's notionally aware of where those boundaries are.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it, and I think the planning board, for future reference, would like to see it too.
Sure.
What about other board members? What do you have? Questions, comments?
I don't have much to add. I mean, the conservation easement that exists isn't being disturbed. Minimal disturbance, in ground movement. So I don't have much to add.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. I think you mentioned water, you mentioned grading. So I think you've addressed it.
Keith, anything? Any questions, comments?
No. I think you pretty much covered it all.
Yeah, I think the only comment I would suggest here is to double check the language on the Forever Wild and, removal of trees, ensuring that that's, an activity we can execute. And, provided it is, I don't have any other questions or comments or any issues here.
Okay.
So, any additional questions for the board or for us?
I guess I got one question. Do you guys deal with from a lighting standpoint, is that anything that falls into your realm? Site lighting?
Not necessarily. It's more under the planning board. So that, those are going to be kind of what, those are some of the details they're going to look at.
Okay.
They'll provide some recommendations and there's codes on that. So that'll be a good topic if you have questions for them or for Al or for anyone, to send them along. They should be able to answer those fairly easily.
Okay. Great. Well,
So
thank you, everyone.
what's your plan for, are you on the next planning board agenda?
We are scheduled for November 9th.
Okay.
Agenda. Again, whether we get one meeting or have to come back, that's up to them. So.
Okay.
Do our best.
Yeah, no, good luck. And if you have any questions, as always, reach out to Lisa or Kim, both of Kim's, and certainly, we can be back in touch. We want to help you make this as seamless and quick as possible.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good night.
All right. Meeting minutes from the 21st.
I read through them. I didn't see anything, but we usually rely on Matt to find the grammatical errors.
I did not find any, no typos, nothing. I also thought they were fine this time. Sorry to disappoint.
Take a second look.
I know I should. Just have to prove that I'm actually reading them. I want to be sure everyone knows.
All
So
right.
I'd make a motion. Yeah, I'd make a motion that we approve those.
I second it.
Motion by Matt, second by Keith. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. Mike, how's it
Yes,
going?
sir. Good. How you doing?
Good, good. And getting ready for fall and the snow, I guess. But how's things at the town level, at the town board?
Things are good. There hasn't been a lot. The budget has been the big topic, and the preliminary's been in, and we are we're going to maintain. We're not going to have any increase, so we're going to maintain this current level, which was miraculous. That's been the focus over the last month, and it's been really good. The sales tax levels and obviously mortgage tax has been astounding, way more than what we projected a year ago during this whole COVID thing. We never had a clue. So, you were very cautious and really pulled everything in tight and cut some things and cut some budgets. And obviously Parks and Rec got whacked pretty hard. And we're going to come in now, and this Rich, the guy that took over as a financial director, has done a great job. So I think we're pretty seamless. That whole part of it's going to be really good. So it's been pretty smooth, actually. I'm very encouraged with what Rich is doing and what all the departments have done, and hopefully come out of this thing on the other end better than we thought we were. So
Awesome. That's great.
It doesn't really make any difference, but just so you know, and I didn't want to bring it up during the presentation, but you asked about the ag field for strikers there for that property, and it was an ag field. It hasn't been for a couple of years. Mark Stryker farmed it for Harold, whose house is still there, and it's a small lot, but he was doing it because his uncle wanted it farmed, and it's kind of growing in now. So it's really not. That's why when you ask that question about is it still, or was it, when was the last time it was farmed? It's probably been a couple of years, and it's mostly because it's a small field and he can't get in and out of there. So so it's really not impeding any ag, but it's great that it's green space, and it's great what they're doing. So that's just for your own information. That's what it was in the past. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
I'm still worried about traffic down there. It's not in our purview, I know, but just traffic on East Victor. Is there any thought about anything East Victor 96?
I don't know.
Okay.
If I could offer anything, I guess they have their own traffic studies. I mean, for me, as a personal note, when my road, when Boughton Hill Road got to be the bypass road for the when they shut down 96 years ago, they diverted all the traffic onto my road and got busier. And then they did it again twice. And then they recently, for the bridge project in 96, made it so all these people discovered that road. We didn't used to have the trucks that we had, and East Victor didn't have trucks until East Victor's a small road, and it's a slow mile per hour road because of the curve, the two big curves, and obviously there seemed to be shoving a bunch of houses into a small space. I don't know if you believe what they tell you. I guess that they have their traffic study on what it'll do and what it won't do, and the traffic study tells you that in certain time frame in the morning and a certain time frame at night it'll be impacted, and the rest it won't be any different. I don't know. I guess I'll take their word for it, but I think it's hard to imagine. But I mean, every project that comes in, they're always they balance their numbers over a 24-hour period, and they just know that there's going to be a problem in that morning and bus loop time, and I think it's just, I don't know, it's just what we have to deal with. So if they keep trucks off the road, I think we'll be all right. It's just it like from driving on and out, it hasn't been real bad, but you got 90 houses, or not 90, but it's probably going to be 70 houses across the street, and
right,
it needs 15 and then 2 more. It's got to be impacted to some extent, but it was brought up, but they voted it forward anyways. I didn't want to see it that big myself, but it got passed and voted forward. So Friedman, I think, does a good job. I don't know if you guys probably weren't part of it back then, but him and Jack Dinetti together, they gave up 80 some acres of space around the corner on the old Fox farm. And so he's taken advantage of, or been gracious, I guess I'd say, presenting TDRs where other builders don't. I hate to penalize him where it hasn't been taken advantage of in other areas, but he's always, if there's anybody that's really given back space for houses that he wants, that's one of them. So
Yeah.
All in all, in that project, as they've come along, he's given up a lot more than most have been made to do. So
Mhm.
it's a give and take, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thanks on that.
Yeah. So.
All right.
But any questions for me other than that? You guys are doing a good job. I like what you're doing, and you're very focused on what you do and fair with what you do. So just a note, you guys are doing a good job.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Wow.
Motion
I'll
by
second.
Tim, second
I'll
by
second that.
Matt. And all in favor?
Hi.